Hello, Marion family. This is Father Miller. Never thought I'd be doing stuff like this, shooting videos and posting it online. Just not my thing. Just the other day, I got introduced to TikTok, whatever that is. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. If you guys know me, you know I'm not surprised by that reaction, but it is what it is. And I never thought I would be in a situation where I'm quarantined along with you for two weeks or more. So just doing this as a way of just touching base, just kind of staying connected still, and just offer a little reflection again in this time of uncertainty. So as I read this weekend's gospel, fifth Sunday of Lent, it's probably one of the most famous miracles of Jesus, the raising of Lazarus. There's so much spiritual, theological insights, just little phrases, little nuances that John puts in there. And I know for most of you don't get excited by that stuff, but I do. And there's one part of the passage in particular that when I read it, I just couldn't think about us and the situation that we're in right now, and what we're feeling right now, in terms of our relationship with God and those types of things. So just quickly, a brief synopsis of what this story is all about. Jesus is outside of a town called Bethany, and while he's at this town, he learns word that his friend Lazarus is ill. Okay, so Lazarus lives in Bethany. Jesus is outside Bethany. When Jesus hears that Lazarus is ill, he remains at the place where he is for 2 days. So he doesn't get up and immediately go to Lazarus. He stays where he's at for another 2 days, which is very interesting right there in itself. And that's the part that I really want to focus in on. But as the story goes, after the 2 days, Jesus heads towards Lazarus. He tells his disciples that Lazarus is dead. And as he's approaching the town of Bethany, Lazarus' two sisters, Martha and Mary, go out and meet him. Martha first, and then Mary second. And they say some interesting things to Jesus, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. After their conversation, they then go into Bethany. They go to the tomb where Lazarus is, and then Jesus, in a very dramatic way, says, "Lazarus, come out." And Lazarus comes out of the tomb. He's been raised from the dead. Again, a great story. There's so much in there. But it's the fact that Jesus remained where he was for 2 days before going to Lazarus. And then also what Martha and Mary say to Jesus is just what I kind of want to just briefly reflect on this morning and share with you just some of my insights. So again, that first part, why did Jesus stay for 2 additional days when he learned that his friend was ill, when he learned that his friend was suffering? Why remain there for 2 days? And I just couldn't help but think of the situation we're in right now. I just want to ask the question, God, what are you doing? What are you doing right now? Because I feel as if God is just kind of just sitting back, waiting. Well, instead of 2 days, 2 weeks. He lets his friend Lazarus die before he goes to see him. And so we have so many questions right now and uncertainties, and we just want all this to be over. And we're just kind of waiting. At least that's how I feel. We're just kind of waiting for God to do his thing. And so with this, we have this person of Martha and Mary. Here's the icon just a beautiful icon of the image of Jesus raising Lazarus. But it's the next picture that I want to kind of focus in on. This is the picture of Jesus meeting Martha and Mary outside of Bethany. And both of them on separate occasions go to Jesus and say, Lord, if you would have been here, my brother would not have died. you know. And so maybe many of us are saying right now, God, where are you in all this? If you were here, this wouldn't happen. It's the common objection that people who don't believe in God, people who reject the faith, and all those sort of things. It's the question that probably the number one objection as to why they disbelieve in God. God, where are you in the midst of this suffering? Martha and Mary didn't understand what Jesus had in mind. Their idea of Jesus is to come and to heal Lazarus and to not let him suffer and not let him die. But Jesus had other plans. So notice again, I said at the beginning that John tells us, the gospel writer, that because Jesus loved Lazarus, he remained there for 2 days. That somehow in this mystery, God still loves us even in the midst of suffering. And he allows us to suffer for a purpose. The problem is we don't know what that means. Like we don't know what it means or the reasons why we suffer or the reasons why all this is going on. We don't know what God is up to. And so for some of us, that might get us discouraged, loss of faith, questioning God. But notice also, though, in the conversation with Martha and Mary, that when they go to Jesus and they say to him, Lord, if you would have been here, my brother would not have died. That as the conversation goes on, they don't lose faith in him. Like, they don't understand what he's doing. They don't understand what he's up to. And they most certainly don't know that Jesus is going to raise him from the dead right there. Like that was the Lord's plan in all this, to let Lazarus die, to then raise him from the dead, to reveal the glory of God that resides with him, to show God's mighty work, and to show that really with all of our deaths and all of our sufferings, it's going to lead to God's glorification. The suffering and the death isn't the end of our lives. I've said that so many times, throughout this past year at Marion, with just some of the tragedy that we're dealing with right now, that the suffering is only temporary. Now, for some of us, unfortunately, we carry those sufferings throughout the rest of our lives. But at the moment of our death, that suffering is laid to rest forever. And God's glory, God's love, is then what remains with us for all eternity. So we're in this Lenten season, and the Lord, in a very mysterious way and for mysterious reasons, shows us that the cross is the source of life, that the cross, to accept and encounter suffering, but to do it united to God, to not lose your trust or faith in him, that there's going to be a glorification in it. We don't know when it's going to happen. We don't know why it happens, but it does happen. And I've been through, as 10 years as a priest, so many people in our lives, so many people in my life, that is, that I encounter. You think being a priest, you have the faith and all the faith life and all that stuff all together, which is not the case. I've encountered so many people who carry so many crosses and encountered so much suffering, and yet did it with such faith and such trust in God that it inspired me. Whether it's a person on their deathbed or a person that encountered a tragedy in their life, to see their faith has always been an inspiration and a source of hope for me. Again, we don't know what God's up to right now. Right now, we just, at least I do, feel as if he's just waiting there, for 2 weeks, for 4 weeks. But if we let him in our lives, if we trust in him and put faith in him, his glory is going to come through in all this. I firmly believe in that. Something I hope to share with you. And again, just email me, at bmiller@marioncatholichs.org. If you need to talk or have any questions or anything like that. God bless you and take care. Stay safe.